Hello everybody, I'm Mike McAvoy and welcome to the first episode of Oklahoma Eats. During the last 43 years I've taught history in the Middale schools and down in Wellston, Oklahoma. And I try to explain to my students that history is a collection of stories that are told by people. And you take all these stories and you put them together and you have a history of an area. And when you're studying history, one of the things that you want to do is you want to look at the culture. And a great way of looking at the cultures of the different regions of the state of Oklahoma is by traveling to that region, go onto Main Street, find a restaurant that's locally owned, a little cafe, a little diner, go in, sit down, watch, and listen. You look at the workers come in, you can tell whether they're farmers, you can tell whether they're blue collar, you can tell whether they're oil field workers. You certainly see a lot of first responders, and it's a great way to learn. So what our intent here is to look at different regions in the state of Oklahoma, look at the different cultures that we have, and by doing so, we're going to be going to different restaurants and getting a view of some of the culture of the state of Oklahoma. And I certainly hope you enjoy what we're going to do, is we're going to also include a little bit of history. We're traveling to Noble, Oklahoma, and we're going to go to a place called Tiffany's Restaurant. We're going to do what Audrey Hepburn mentioned that maybe we would want to do back in the 1950s, is we're going to have breakfast at Tiffany's. Noble, Oklahoma, as I mentioned, is down near the Canadian River. So today a lot of people travel down to Noble for the purpose of motor vehicle sports out on the Canadian River with dirt bikes or four-wheelers, big trucks, mudding and things of that nature. And then also Thunder Valley is located in that area. But Noble, Oklahoma is an interesting place. It's 5 miles south of where my wife and I now live, and every Saturday morning we drive down to the area to have breakfast there at Tiffany's. Tiffany's is one of those restaurants where you walk in. It's locally owned. It's a group of brothers that owns the restaurant. They've been open now for 10 or 11 years, and you'll be able to talk with some of those people here in a few minutes. You'll hear from those people in a few minutes, letting you know how long they've been there and what they're planning on doing. But the thing that's interesting about Tiffany's is you go in there and it renews your faith in mankind. You go in and the restaurant itself gives back to the community tremendously. They have a Veterans Day free meal for veterans. They do a lot for the schools. They do the pregame meals for football and baseball and basketball. They have fundraising outside the restaurant on Saturday mornings for softball and soccer girls and Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and all kinds. And they even have a food pantry out front. So that anybody that can come in that's hungry, they can get a meal. When you go into Tiffany's, we've been going to Tiffany's now every Saturday morning that we're in town. And when you're there, you see the payback theory, the pay forward theory. And it's absolutely amazing. Rarely do you go into the restaurant and not see somebody pay for somebody else's meal. Picking up the tab for someone. That's one of the reasons I go there every Saturday morning, waiting for somebody to pick up my tab, but that hasn't happened yet. But it's very interesting. The fact that the restaurant gives back to its communities is contagious, and the people that go into the restaurant do the same thing. So the reason we're going to go down to Tiffany's, and the reason that we're going to do our first episode of the restaurant at Tiffany's, is because of the contributions they make to their community. It's terrific to watch, and it gives you a really good feeling. So here in a few minutes, we're going to be approaching Noble, Oklahoma, and we'll go in and maybe have a chili cheese omelet. We'll see. Take care. We'll be right back. Well, it's Saturday morning, and we're going to Noble, and we've pulled in, and we're going to have breakfast like Audrey Hepburn suggested. We are having breakfast at Tiffany's. As you come into Tiffany's, you will see the side wall, which will include all the people that have visited, and you will see a variety. And here's what we have on a Saturday morning. And I'm telling you, part of the reason that you come here on a Saturday morning is because they treat you like family, and the breakfasts are fantastic, and you're about to see some of those. Oh, darn, it didn't work. Can you come back and do that again?
I didn't know it didn't break.
Look at, am I lying?
I can't see a picture.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, we broke it.
Can't believe you all did that. He got it.
You might as well get in too.
Oh gosh, that got it too. That's scary. All right.
One cardiac arrest.
Thank you. Appreciate it. There it is. Thank you very much. And there's the pancake. That's one pancake and eggs, folks. And here's the famous Mike Super Slinger. Okay, I am going to be putting that in my mouth, so we're going to be turning you off for a while. They do a chili cheese omelet. So what I have them do is put the hash browns on the bottom, and then they put the omelet on top of that and throw the chili, the cheese, and the onions over it, and that makes it a St. Louis Slinger. It's extremely good. John, the brother that is the chef, won a chili cook-off about 6 months ago, and now he's making a lot of chili and putting chili on a lot of different items. They told me that there was chili on the menu now, and I suggested that they clean the menu off, because chili would be messy if you did. But anyway, they told me it was actually an item. So I had the chili, and it's we've had it on this, and we've had it on a chili dog at lunch. It's outstanding. At lunch, they do specials Monday or Tuesday through Friday. Priced really right. Whenever we come over here for lunch, we just get whatever the special is. Had spaghetti, had pork chops, had meatloaf, had corned beef. Everything has been fantastic, and I'm getting ready to consume more of this. There is the pancake and the eggs. We have hit the wall. That means we're going to have breakfast on Monday. The meal at Tiffany's was once again very, very good, and after we finished our meal at Tiffany's, we traveled down near the Canadian River about 2 miles to the southwest of Tiffany's, and we watched where the Dragoons traveled across in the 1830s. Now, the Dragoons was about 500 U.S. soldiers from Fort Gibson who in the 1830s was sent out by Andrew Jackson to inform the Plains Indians that the 5 civilized tribes were going to be arriving in eastern Oklahoma. The U.S. government believed that there could be some violence, so the 500 Dragoons with their weaponry left Fort Gibson and traveled down to the Red River and followed the Red River out to the western part of Oklahoma. The good news is the major battles never took place. The bad news is because of bad water and bad food and no medicine, of the 500 troops that left Fort Gibson, only 135 returned. There was no violence, but the weather conditions of western Oklahoma made it very difficult for the Dragoons to get back to Fort Gibson. The commander of the Dragoons, a guy by the name of Henry Dodge, suggested that they get back to Fort Gibson as quickly as they possibly could, so the original route that had been mapped out was scrapped, and the Dragoons went up to the Canadian River and followed the Canadian River back over into eastern Oklahoma to get to Fort Gibson. That is where we are headed. Whenever you're down in the Noble area, if you want to see that, all you do is head south and the signs will direct you. I hope you enjoyed our first episode, and until the next time, have a very good life. Goodbye, everybody.